his and hers bench seats. We only have 2 kids, 2 big bench seats. Each child had excitement about going to stay at Grandpa and Grandma's, and they had huge space bubbles. My son had the big bench seat, though he was smaller. My daughter had the smaller bench seat, though she was bigger. And my son would lean over and poke into her space bubble. And she wanted her space bubble. He wanted to be a pest. So we pulled in, stopped. I looked back at him and said, settle down, we'll be there soon, or something akin to that. My wife went into the school, and just as she stepped out the doors, she didn't know what had been happening. Space bubble pushing, teasing, pesting, trying to burn off that first day of school energy. My daughter decided she wanted to put up a wall between the seats, and so she decided to use her leg. That was about the time my son decided he was going to get a little more into her space bubble and leaned in with his face. Foot to nose. My wife came out just as the faucet of red started pouring. Went back in and got ice from the school and did the old hockey trick, and there was a crack and the nose kind of went straight and all of that sort of thing. And the ice stopped the bleeding, and we were back on our way. And Mom and Dad kind of looked at each other and whispered, "Are we there yet?" Sometimes around kids. This past week, North Korea managed a successful launch of a 3-stage rocket. 3 stages, all about showing they can extend their reach even further than the world wants to know. And if the world were a bus instead of a minivan, they are trying to show that their missile can reach all the way to the back seat from the front to defend their space bubble. And then the news from Connecticut. Some of you know I put out a short post on Facebook and a short email. And it really is not an email that does any explaining. It's totally inexplicable. For those whose minds are even halfway functioning, it will never quite make sense. Because it can't make sense. It can just hurt. What does make sense are the stories of the adults, the teachers, the superintendent, those, even a child, who became heroes of sorts, who did their best to protect others, sometimes at great risk to themselves, sometimes losing their own lives. Today we heard the song of Mary's Heart, and it is a song of peace, of the greatness of God doing mighty deeds with his strong arm and bringing down the proud and lifting up the humble and filling the hungry with good things and remembering mercy. And I wonder to myself, especially after this week, do we still believe enough? Do we still hope enough? Do we still keep our mind's eye on the destination? Do we dare even ask, are we there yet? Because the question is, do we believe we are actually going wherever there is? And I think the Lord's Prayer puts it like this: thy kingdom coming on earth as it is in heaven. Do we even believe that's where we're headed? The scriptures tell us, a few months before the birth of Jesus, the trajectory of the world changed. God had a new plan. The scriptures tell us that with the birth and life and death and resurrection of Jesus, the highway was more clearly lit for our journey than ever before. And the scriptures tell us we're on this grand journey toward a wonderful and glorious time, or as Jesus put it when he first stood up to preach, the very first time, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And that is code. The year of the Lord's favor is code for a Jubilee year. And every 50th year, if you can imagine, the Israelites never really practiced it, but they held it out there as God's will for them, trying to get to it. Every 50th year, all debts erased, and people being able to start over from scratch. A fresh start, free and clear. I don't hear much about fresh starts lately. I hear a lot about a fiscal cliff, a road of doom and gloom, and perhaps worse than the fiscal cliff is this: that the followers of Jesus, you and I, the hope of the world, and the healing of the nations, the very followers of the light of lights and the King of kings, can forget the journey we're on and call ourselves into despair with the rest of the world, who say the same old, can't change human nature, and we can't change human nature. But God can change us. Jesus can redeem us. As Mary said yes to God's plan 2,000 plus years ago, to this outlandish promise and possibility, we can choose to hear the promises and to say yes. We can live as if we're already there, as if God's kingdom is practically here. We can live as if a tattered old barn and a stable is a glorious hospital suite where the ruler of all nations is being born. We can live as if humble shepherds covered in the stuff of sheep and poverty of the night shift are messengers of God's highest angels. We can live as if the foot of the cross is a glorious palace on a mountaintop, and as if the hospice bed that cradles a loved one is the doorway to a lakefront mansion. We can live as if these words of Mary called the Magnificat are the winning lottery ticket for each of us, that can change our lives and heal our relationships and set us free from our worries and open us to living God's dreams for us. It's not easy, but our growing in faith means welcoming others into our space bubbles. It means letting go of the squabbles of children as we go on our journey, overexcited to get to Grandma's house or just overexcited or anxious. It means choosing to be bearers of ice for the wounded, and comfort for the saddened, and patience for the uptight, and prayers across the miles for people we don't even know, but people that we feel connected to because we know what it is to be part of a family, and we know what it is to lose a part of a family. And though we don't know their tragedy, we know what it is to be human, and we can feel their pain, and so we pray.